Thought for the day. Today is your opportunity to build the tomorrow you want.
Welcome to 7 Minutes for Yourself. I'm Christina Aina, and I'm so glad you've joined me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. Let's take this time to reconnect with ourselves and improve our well-being.
In today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself, we dive into tips and tricks to build intrinsic motivation. Have a listen.
So the way to stay motivated is all about reinforcing that motivating cycle to keep that dopamine flowing. So how we reward ourselves for tasks determines in the long run whether we build or decrease motivation over time. And it all starts with building small, regular habits, which really just starts with choosing one small thing to act on, right? Action leads to reward, leads to motivation, leads to action. So the way to get motivated isn't to wait until you feel motivated, but rather to take some action first and then highlight the reward it has for you. First, choose one small thing to start with and then try to do it. I know this can sound hard, but just pick something like making your bed. And then after you've done that, take a second to congratulate yourself for how nice it looks, and then give yourself a moment to bask in that tiny pleasure. Now, if you can't get yourself to start a big task that you're avoiding, you can start by moving in the smallest possible way. I asked my mother-in-law about this, and she says when she has a task that she doesn't really want to do, like scrubbing the floor, she'll make a little chart, and it's like, okay, do 3 minutes of something you enjoy, and then 3 minutes of something that's hard. And then 3 minutes of something you enjoy, and then 3 minutes of something that's hard. And that's how she gets things done throughout the day. She rewards herself by, getting to work on her art or getting to work on her novel in between, scrubbing the floor or whatever task it is. So some examples of things you could do that just get you moving are things like going for a 5-minute walk without a phone or drinking a tall glass of water. Anything that gets you moving can start that dopamine cycle. And then after you've done that, just reinforce that reward. Just give yourself a little bit of credit for doing that. Another thing that's important is just don't work in bed, don't lay down. Research shows that for people who stay in bed, their motivation decreases. So just little things like getting out of bed or getting dressed and then telling yourself, hey, good job, you did it. That's enough to get that motivation dopamine reward cycle going. Getting started can be the hardest part. So you could set a timer and do that task for X long. So, I'll just write for 5 minutes and then I can quit if I want. Then when you've completed the task, just make sure to give yourself some credit. Reward yourself with some praise or checking an item off your list. And that's going to reinforce your wins. This is how you build lasting intrinsic motivation. You sit and you bask in how good it feels. So you found this video. You're watching a video on how to get motivated instead of a cat video. And cat videos are okay sometimes, but you're working to improve yourself. So good work. Give yourself some credit right now. When you build one new habit at a time, the habits make it easier and easier to take action the next time. Now, let's talk about rewards for a minute. How you reward yourself matters. If you want to have lasting motivation, you really need to build up intrinsic rewards. It's okay to give yourself a piece of chocolate once in a while or treat yourself to something, but in the long run, what you really want to be building is that internal sense of pride that comes from accomplishing something you really care about. A lot of people are unmotivated because they've gotten trapped into unlasting forms of reward, external rewards. So these are things like people-pleasing or praise or money. And so what I'm going to recommend is that instead of chasing these temporary highs, build a lasting motivation cycle by chasing your own goals. Find your own reasons, your inner passions, beliefs, and values, your intrinsic rewards. And you can start doing that by asking yourself, what do you really care about? There's a lot of ways to strengthen that internal sense of fulfillment and motivation. Building lasting motivation is all about bringing to mind over and over what is most important to you. What matters to you the most? So the first way to build intrinsic motivation is to really ask yourself, what do you want to be doing with your life? So take a moment to write down your values. What do you want to be doing with your one wild and precious life? Another way to build intrinsic motivation is to track your accomplishments. You can use a to-do list and check off the items. That's a way to reinforce that win. You can track your routines on paper, right? Like I do a 30-day chart where I mark off the days that I, complete my habit. Another thing you can do is do a calendar with a big red marker. And just like fill in that whole square of the day when you accomplish whatever your goal was. And basically, these are all different ways of just reinforcing that sense of accomplishment. Another thing you can do is reward yourself before the task. So I asked my mother-in-law, how is she so motivated to do so many things? And she says she just imagines what it'll feel like when it's done. So imagine how you're going to feel when you do complete a task. Visualizing how good it's going to feel when you're done strengthens that sense of accomplishment and motivation. And basically that just builds neural pathways that reinforce that positive behavior. Okay, stop rewarding bad behavior. Many people are unmotivated because they accidentally reward bad behavior like procrastinating. So if you do something fun while you're procrastinating, like gaming or watching a show, you're actually rewarding yourself for procrastinating. You're turning on that reward cycle for not taking action. So instead, don't reward yourself for bad behavior. If you're procrastinating, turn off your phone or your TV, because boredom can be really uncomfortable and that can be a really good motivator. So you don't have to, like if you're having a hard time getting started, you don't have to start right away, but just turn off your rewards that are keeping you from starting. And then you can still watch a show or play a game. Just use it as a reward for doing that something that you want to do.
That concludes today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Today and every day with your kiddo is a gift. Enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in.